Thanks for joining us today. My name is Doug Ridley. I am the Director of Marketing here at the Element Group, and I'm also part of the training team. Today, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about Element's branch training program and how we're really focused on the branch experience by taking frontline staff, by taking our employees and team and turning them into trusted advisors. So we're going to go over a little bit about why we think this is important, and then how we're executing on it and how you might be able to execute on it within your own institution. Today, this whole webinar is kind of brought to you by Amplify side of the Element Group. So Element is really known for designing and building beautiful banks and modern credit unions across the country. But we've realized that one of the needs from our clients is the support and the execution to fill that branch with people and to have a great experience. So Amplify is the sort of the second phase of that support, which supports training, promotional products and materials, marketing materials, and then also digital signage as well. When we look at training and this idea of transforming branches into this experience, we really see this as a multi-million dollar problem. Clients, banks, and credit unions investing millions of dollars in these new branches, and they are incredible. They are modern. They support the new experience that customers and members expect. But what we're seeing is that some institutions get caught up in training employees in this old model. And what happens is that if we don't move people forward and think differently, and don't train them in soft skills or this advisory approach, and only train them on the hard skills like new ITMs, new cash machines, etc., what happens is everything operates exactly like the old branch, and they don't see the movement forward that I think everybody expects with a new branch. And we have this unique position at Element because we see the gap that happens. And that's really where our training program was built from, is that at the start, during the design phase, we are having some incredible strategic conversations with the leadership team, with facilities, with retail and marketing teams. What is the goal of the branch? Why are we doing it? What needs to be in it? All of those things. How is it going to get laid out? What's the choreography? But then after having those strategic conversations, there's this gap. And the gap is that why, the how and why decisions were made, isn't brought over to the team that's actually going to execute it, which is the frontline staff. And if you don't do that, if you don't train staff on the why, again, we're going backwards to the old branch model, and they're going to continue working in that old branch model. So I don't think really when we when we have these trainings and we're talking to employees and staff, it's not why we should be doing this. They agree, like they want to provide great customer and member experience. They want to be the best that they can be in their job. It's really the why around the whole layout, why the technologies in the branch, the choreography, etc., of why things were placed there. And here's a quick example. We're going to come back to choreography in a little bit, but here's an example of what I mean by that, is that this is an inline branch at a shopping center. And what we did is we had to reimagine, okay, how do people come into the space in the exterior? What's the engagement zones look like when someone walks in? What's their sight lines? Are they looking at the transactional zone, the teller lines, the ITMs? Can someone greet them and maybe move them over into a more of an engagement zone to ask some specific questions? And then how can employees and staff use the consultative zone in the back to have maybe more private conversations if someone's filling out a loan application, etc. But without this kind of understanding and the training behind it, you sort of you can lose the reason, the why, and people might again go back to that old branch model of just standing around in that transactional zone in the teller pod area. So When we looked also at why should we do training, it also came up that we're huge sports fans here at Element, and we're thinking like, gosh, even professional athletes, the best of the best. We were just watching the Masters on our big TV this past week. They have coaches. They are training a majority of their time, but then they perform just a, a small sliver of that. And you can see that across a lot of different sports. Football is another great example. But when we look at our clients and how we are treating in branch employees, gosh, we're training them and we do some great training. Hard, a lot of hard skills, some soft skills right at the beginning, and then maybe some smaller seminars or smaller things throughout the year. But then we're really asking them to perform, a majority of the time there. And that's where the miss is. We think that there's a lot of opportunity there from a day-to-day, month-to-month perspective to do coaching and to really help employees grow into that trusted advisor role. You've heard us probably talk a lot about the retail mindset the past year and into 2026 as well, and that's pretty intentional. Mark Healy from the Element Group, he really believes and has this phrase that retail banking has the word retail in it for a reason, right? Like the retail space, just in general, when you think about commerce or you think about hospitality, we as financial institutions need to be adopting some of those things or a lot of the things that they are experimenting on very quickly. Like we can take those learnings from major retailers. We've all been through a retail store in the past probably week or so and had either a great experience, a memorable experience, or one that's just not so much of like, why did I even come in here? I could have gotten this on Amazon. You've probably had that with hospitality, going to a restaurant. Either, wow, I'm coming back here, I'm going to tell all my friends about it, versus that was awful. I don't feel like anybody heard me, saw me, acknowledged me, etc. And the experience was pretty bland. I'm not coming back. So, again, how can we take those things and learn from them? Put retail into retail banking. A couple different things that we talk about in our trainings are things like, well, it requires engagement. It requires engagement from our team, that they are comfortable coming out from behind a teller pod or line, to be in the lobby when somebody comes to the door, to welcome them, to start conversations, to greet people. The greeting people is a big one, is a big kind of pet peeve of ours when we are visiting branches and we're doing secret shopping or we're doing our research for a new client. And you come in and it takes 30 seconds to even get acknowledged or have someone come over and greet you. And that's eons, that's a lifetime when you think about providing a great experience. And then from the training perspective, these last two, starting conversations that train people to become or allow people to become trusted advisors. And when we're in trainings, it's interesting to that there usually is some pushback or questions around trusted advisors and then salespeople. Because at the end of the day, we know we all have very similar KPIs around increasing deposits, selling more products, etc. That's a sales role, right? But when we say trusted advisors, I think there's a little bit of an elevation there of what we mean by that. And yeah, we're going to be selling products, but if a member or customer comes in and say we're having our auto refinance promotion, we have better rates, we have great rates. And if that member comes in and I start a conversation and I can realize that I can help them out financially, and if they move and refinance with us, they might save, I don't know, $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever it might be, with this new rate and with a new plan. Yeah, I'm selling, but also I'm acting as a trusted advisor. I'm going to put money back in their pocket, which is then they can go and invest in, they can go out and literally buy groceries, take their family to the movies, whatever it might be. And they then end up in a better financial position than they were when they originally came in and before they had that conversation. And that's how we want folks to approach that when we're doing training is, yeah, we're going to have CD rates every year. We're going to have promotions on checking or savings or a money market account or whatever it might be. But again, it's not just to sell it, it's to put people in a better financial space than they were before because we care and we're having those conversations. And the opportunity then is that, let's be honest, we all sell very similar products. Everyone's got CDs, checking account, a savings account, a bunch of different loans we offer. We got branches, and they're all very close to each other, especially in a city. And so the differentiation here comes of the experience of the people, of that interaction that happens once in a while when someone actually comes into the branch and needs to have a difficult conversation, maybe a vulnerable conversation around, I don't know how to or what is a HELOC loan, but I need to make some renovations on my house, or I want to just be, I want to have that ability to to use my house, but I don't know how to get it. I don't know what to do. It's a pretty vulnerable conversation. So having again this idea that you're a trusted advisor, and then knowing when you talk about branch choreography that you have these zones where you can pull people into a much more private space to have those conversations, I think is where that differentiation comes when we're talking about that great experience. So Elements training program was put together. We actually have a whole training program booklet that each participant gets, and it's built on a few different things. It's built on 8 different sections or phases where, the first thing is goal setting. Why are we doing these things? What's the goal of the training and of the branch itself? And so we're going to work with, or we work with, you as an individual to say yes, as the branch manager or as the experience officer. Here's what I'm hoping to get out of it. Let's be honest, you're going to have some things around new accounts, etc. But then also let's go over some other goals. We're going to have a kickoff training where we come out, we meet with the entire staff, and we run through everything that is on the screen now. Quarterly meetings and monthly check-ins, we find are really important, especially the quarterly meetings, because we get to come back and be in person with folks. But the monthly check-ins are also important because, when you train folks, their acumen goes up. They're like, yes, they're bought in, etc. But then let's be honest, everybody starts decreasing and returning back to normal. And if we don't come back and reinforce what we've talked about or talk about continuous improvement, number 7, we're going to end back to the old model, and people are going to not have just fall back into old habits. Not their fault, it's just human nature. We're going to talk a lot about branch choreography. Again, why did we place things here? What's the expectation when someone walks through the door? And then we're going to kind of reinforce that through role play scenarios. Big piece of our training is the role play scenarios. We do it every single time we come out, because that way then we can talk to folks about continuous improvement. Brand new branch, obviously the leadership from the institution, our designers and architects have planned this branch with best practice, with all of our institutional and platform like learning that we're getting from all the projects that we're doing around the country. But when the actual doors open, the frontline staff, that team is going to give the greatest feedback on, well, here's what I'm seeing. Here's how people are engaging in the space. Here's maybe, we have these promotions, or we use this screen for certain things, maybe community events. But in reality, more people are spending time over here, and maybe that screen needs to change up and have the content put over here versus over here. And then next, wanting to really, after we've set those goals, show to leadership, show to you as the client, that there are things here that we should roll out to the wider network. We want to use this as a proving ground, and then be able to take it and then bring it across the entire network. When we talk about goals, there's a whole goal setting section here in our notebook. And the first thing is that, again, we know we're going to have specific KPIs around. We got to increase deposits, new accounts, loan applications, etc. Net promoter scores got to stay up or increase. But then there are things, and this might be a little small on your screen, so I'm going to kind of talk through it. Here, we're going to go through 3 slides of examples of a client that we've run this program through. And they were putting in ITMs for the first time in their branch. So when we talked about branch choreography, this transactional zone here, that was going to be something new for the members. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to achieve an 85 to 90% of routine transactions, so day-to-day transactions completed through the ITMs. But they knew that their membership really they really prided themselves on being people first and talking to their members when they came in. So the thing that they wanted to do, though, was say, okay, yeah, really high adoption of ITMs, but also that second bullet says maintain member satisfaction scores of 4.5 out of 5 or higher for ITM interactions. So we can't just, from the staff perspective, when we're training them, push people to the ITMs. We need to make sure they have an incredible experience when they're using it. And then here's the second part, is that allows us to then have more meaningful conversations with our members. And that's the next goal that they had, was conduct at least 5 meaningful financial conversations per employee per day. Again, great experience with the ITMs. Well, now I have more time as a frontline team member to talk with my members, to come in, spend time with them as they are walking to and from the ITM versus just doing those day-to-day transactions. And then here's where that advisory piece comes in, which is then convert a percentage of those conversations to products or service solutions. Hey, I just heard that this individual bought a car, is looking to remodel their home, is maybe looking to do a money market account, have a CD, whatever that might be, save some money, all those things. Here's some opportunities for them. How can we have those conversations, bring them back again with being advisory, but not too salesy? And then the last one here kind of supports both of these, which is maintaining an average ITM wait time under 2 minutes. So to do that, you need the first one, which is member satisfaction and ensuring and supporting people as they are at the ITM so they can learn how to use it, what it's best used for. And then that third bullet, which is increased staff availability for advisory conversations to 40%. Because without the ITMs, we're all just doing the same old model, right? Now we're going to train our staff and our team members to have conversations with this freed up time. Thinking differently there. Choreography, huge piece of what we talk about in our book, and it's really important, I think, for folks when they come in. Here's the branch that they have right here. This should look familiar. But then we're going to actually look at each of the spaces. We're going to show actual pictures of the exterior or the engagement zones, because we want to literally walk the folk with the team through the exterior. Why do we put signage here? This is a pretty busy shopping center that we put this in. People are going to be passing by here at 8:00 at night, earlier in the morning to go to the gym when the branch is closed. So we want to have signage and branding out that sort of welcomes people into that space. Okay, well then what happens when they come in? There's that engagement zone. We're going to have someone at the lobby. We're going to have someone saying, hey, just grab a cup of coffee. What are you here for today? Can I get you set up with someone for a more consultative conversation? Or are you just here to get in and out, quick ITM sort of transaction? And then, of course, you have the consultative section and then the staff offstage back area. Without going through each of these, it seems very basic when we talk about it like this. We've learned that staff just assume certain things about, well, I thought this is how it went, or I did this in my old institution, coming from another branch or another financial institution. That's how things were done. But again, we've spent so much time up front with the leadership team thinking strategically about this transformative goal that we have with this branch, that if we don't explain it and don't explain the why, it gets completely lost. I think the thing that we really encourage clients and institutions to do is help your team build confidence through actual scenarios that will happen in the branch. So that means, and we have a ton of them in our book that I'm going to share with everyone who signed up for the webinar today. Um, you know, either these that we send you may not exactly fit your location, but they should. You should think about your membership or customers. You should think about the location in the area you're serving. Is it a much more consultative, slower moving experience that people are expecting? Or is it in a much more metropolitan maybe area where it's like fast and people get in and out because, they're just parked on the street. They kind of come in and then they're leaving. That allows folks to really understand and practice, again, what am I going to do when I'm just standing there and someone comes to the door? How am I going to guide them to and from these different zones? And all that does is then boost their confidence, allows them to practice what they're going to talk about. Maybe it is a new product or service or a member offering or whatever that might be. And that way it's sort of second nature, just like a sports, a sports team does, an athlete. They get that reflex there and they don't even really have to think about it. The other big thing is the prompts of coaching. You can have people kind of run through these scenarios, practice the scenarios, but the thing you got to tie in is having someone sort of sit and watch. And that could be, we do it, our clients, managers do it. And then we have the actual team members, their peers, direct peers do it as well. And we found the biggest thing to do is give people the expectation right up front on what you expect. So arrival and first impression, don't let the staff, we're going to go through all of this stuff right here, right? We're going through all of this stuff before we meet running through these scenarios. So when we see and walk through it, what's the expectation in the arrival and the first impression? Are you acknowledged even within the first 30 seconds? That's forever, but 10 seconds, who acknowledged you first? What was your first impression of the branch, right? And so that way folks get a chance to experience it from the front end, but then also practice it as well, knowing here's the expectations as someone comes to the branch and I'm practicing. Staff interaction and quality. Did the employee greet you in a friendly manner? Did they ask for your name? Did they use your name? Did they use their name? Were all your expectations met? And this is where you start to really be able to play with envisioning the ideal branch visit. And so what we think institutions can do right now is first, let's jump to small behaviors because they matter. Greeting people within 10 seconds, using their first name is a big one. Guiding members and customers to and from zones, not just standing behind the teller pod or teller line and just, harking people over. Coming from outside, asking if they want a cup of coffee or a drink of water, making sure you understand their needs for the day, walking them to and from even your teller pod for a transaction. And then acknowledging things like wait times, for example. Thanks for coming in. Small things like that. And then what you can do is really train staff on the design intent. Going back to that choreography piece. Why did we do these things? Why is there digital signage on the wall over here? And why is there maybe a promotional products wall over here? Focusing on those conversations. Again, using some of the scenarios that we'll send y'all in your own trainings, not just in an annual basis, but hopefully on a month-to-month basis. Practicing those scenarios, coaching, giving feedback, and then envisioning the ideal branch visit. And I think this is something that I kind of want to challenge everyone on the call today for. We are big fans of Unreasonable Hospitality, this book. In it, Will questions. He has run some of the most famous restaurants in New York. He pushes businesses to think about how to be unreasonable, how to empower your employees, bring them in to think about the ideal branch visit, where what is it that we can do that gives somebody not just maybe a 5-star experience, but a 6, a 7-star experience? What does that look like? What can we do? And he tells this great story in this book. It's the hot dog story. You may have heard it before. The Bear actually just did it out in Chicago Pizza on TV, made this famous as well. But where he was clearing tables in the dining room at a Michelin star restaurant that he was managing, he overheard some foodies talking about all the great experiences they had eating around New York City, and then they're heading to LaGuardia to leave. The one thing they didn't get a chance to try, New York style hot dog, corner dog, dirty water dog, gotta have one of those. But just time just didn't allow for it. He literally left the restaurant, ran down the street, got a few hot dogs, had the chef plate them up with relish and mustard and ketchup, of course, and brought it out, presenting it as, listen, you've had all these amazing experiences, but we couldn't let you leave without having a New York City hot dog. That story is so memorable. He says that it was the highlight of their trip. It's the only thing they talked about as they left. They couldn't believe that he did it. And that, to him, is what sparked Unreasonable Hospitality. Now, we can do similar things in our branches, and I challenge folks to go back to their teams and think about that. And some easy things that we see clients do is, okay, if someone comes in, we have a lot of data. We have a lot of data on our members, right? So we know when it's their birthday. Hey, it's your birthday month and you came into the branch. Hey, happy birthday. I hope you're having a wonderful month. We've been thinking about you. Let me grab you a gift. And you can have these small gifts sort of in the back, come out, acknowledge them. What if somebody, a new member, or say, for example, you're doing an auto loan, how can we signify to that person that that is such a great experience? Maybe it's simply a new member, when they come in, they get a specific gift that's in a specific color bag. So when somebody leaves maybe as just a regular consumer, everybody knows. So you can step out from behind the desk and say, hey, welcome aboard. Thank you for joining our institution, etc. Or just acknowledging them and giving them a great experience as they leave. Or maybe it's a commercial product, and it's a business. And then you can go back out and ask more questions there. 2 very, very low stakes things that you can do to be thinking about, how do we be unreasonable when we think about our in-branch experience? We know that it is so potentially rare, but also such a special opportunity to, again, be that advisor. As we finish up here, when you build a new branch or you renovate a branch, we're not investing millions in just nice design and chairs and finishes and millwork, etc. You're investing in that experience. You're investing long-term in getting more people into the branch, telling people word of mouth you got to get in there. These folks are advisors. They will improve your financial literacy. They'll put you in a better financial situation and grow from there. And that's what we're paying for. That's what we're investing in. And so if this program or any of the training things that we talked about today, you're interested in, you think would help your process, help your team, reduce the risk of kind of training and investing in these larger branch projects, feel free to reach out. You can hit the website. My email is doug@everybitmatters.com. I'd be more than happy to touch base with you about our program. Again, we'll be sending out a follow-up email with this recording and some of the scenario examples that we have that you can start using tomorrow. I really appreciate you taking the afternoon and hope you have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.